Hey, I'm Ben Conklin.
And I'm Ben Katzman.
And this is
Ben
Squared. So, week 1 of fantasy is coming up soon.
That's true.
We've done our draft. Kind of been a little while since the podcast. And today we have a special guest.
Oh.
First-time guest on the Ben Squared podcast.
We're back with a bang.
Yes. Top 2 finisher in the fantasy season from last year, Shann Leonard.
The nice way of saying runner-up.
Yeah, look, I'm
Leonard.
not trying to rain on the parade there.
I appreciate it.
Shann, let's hear the trophy you won last year.
The trophy I won. Okay,
Just for the fans.
Well,
they
as,
want to know. They know about the grade.
As fevered listeners of this show might know, our fantasy league last year was in its inaugural league. Inaugural year.
Yeah, we've never talked about that.
No, we have not.
Okay,
but we are now.
If you listen to every episode, you probably have no idea what we're talking
I
about.
listened to 2 out of 3. I figured in the third one I missed.
Yeah, well, we have a few every time viewers.
Okay.
And they,
to explain, first year of the fantasy league. So obviously we decided the winner would create a trophy, which my man Ben Conklin here did so graciously do. It's a wonderful trophy. But as second place, I felt that there was a void that needed to be filled, and so I created the Gostkowski, who was my kicker that season, and ironically enough, we'll get to this later, is again.
he is.
Through some moves.
I felt like mixing it up, and then it just, okay.
But we'll give it to that, yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be more of a fantasy-based episode, because that's kind of... NFL is interesting, but fantasy season, this is for real.
Yeah.
We also, our other podcasts were dead zone of the off season, literally the armpit of the year, where nothing was happening.
Very true.
Now moves are going on.
Yeah.
I tried listening. It was NBA, and I'm like,
we did
mostly. No offense,
the whip
NBA
around.
fans
the
out
whip
there.
around was like the whole episode. I believe was a whip around at that time. But so we'll start off. Worst team in the league, Jacob Bargolis. Pretty much consensus.
For background,
we all do agree.
10 team, non PPR.
Yeah,
good
job. Yeah, good job
scoring.
there. Setting the stage. Kind of forgot to do that actually.
New man to the league. He wasn't in our league last year. We figured we had on good authority that he would be an excellent fantasy player, and it's interesting to see how that's shaking out right now.
He took I talked to him a bit before the league about quarterback QBR versus passer rating, like how that affects the fantasy wise a player's upside or something, and he said this one makes more sense than this one for fantasy, and so I was like, oh my god, this guy, he's really
he knows what he's doing.
I don't know if it was the fact that he was drafting out of our room or doing whatever, but his team is just I don't know.
I think the
don't
draft
like
is really
I don't
going
like
down.
it.
No.
I wouldn't say it's trash, but it's just very mediocre at a lot of positions. That would be my
specifically running back.
I'd say low ceiling.
One thing he said to
especially running
me,
back.
which I think really represents his mistakes, was during the draft he had these players that he was really eyeing, and every time they got stolen out from under him. Like, I think Christian McCaffrey was one he was really big on.
I remember him saying that, yeah.
I forget who else. But every time he kind of panicked, and then he just probably grabbed the highest ADP, no matter if they were worth that or not.
That looks like what he did here.
So he ended up with a lot of players that I feel like will do okay, but just won't give him a good edge. Like, if you look at like Lamar Miller, Bilal Powell...
We should read the team out for the
fans.
All right.
Katzman, why don't you tell
so we can help them out.
Why don't you list them off?
Well, why don't we go? Let's go player by player.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers. Everybody loves Aaron Rodgers.
Excellent.
However, we saw
Great.
him pick him in the 5th round, I believe.
I'll
round?
say this.
Fourth.
4th round.
Yeah.
38th
fairly
overall
early.
pick.
I think we could all agree that's a little bit too early for
Not
quarterback.
a
Any
crazy
quarterback.
move, but definitely a question.
You do that if you have a plan. And I don't know that this guy
didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the rest of the players. Lamar Miller kind of took a step back. Maybe
if he did well last year, I would be hot on him this year. But there's a reason he slipped to the 25th overall pick.
I'm not high on Lamar Miller, and I'm not high on Bilal Powell. Talk about 2 running backs from absolutely horrific offenses.
Right. Yeah, Bilal Powell actually kind of seems to be like one of your players, Katzman, the shitty team, high volume, but also,
Well,
he's
a little
still
bit lower volume, though, because Matt Forte. And an even shittier team.
Really, purposefully bad team. Hard to find.
That's what it is,
I feel like it's some kind of scheme at this point.
No, they're literally...
They're trying to break a record.
They're taking all of their good players and just cutting them because they know...
If you're not first, you might as well be last.
It's a race for, what's his name? Oh, Sam Darnold, right? They're trying
Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, we'll see. We'll see where it takes us.
Next, we got a wide receiver core that I wouldn't say is bad.
It's the best part of his team.
It's actually quite decent if everybody pans out. Now, what I want to be having...
Flex,
flex, yes.
Let's see, both starting wide receivers on the New York Giants is not the team I would pick for it, but...
No. I mean
obviously,
right.
OBJ is always a top-tier pick, I would say.
Yeah.
He is,
year to year, that we've seen so far. Obviously, he has some concerns this preseason. Ankle injury, seeing how that will affect him. He tends to start slow, as we've seen past seasons. So... will that help him? Will that hurt him?
Maybe Eli takes a step back as well.
Yeah,
That's
that's
always
true.
in the cards. He's 37 now, I think.
Maybe Evan Ingram eats into those OBP
Maybe
targets.
Evan Ingram.
very
I doubt that happens, but you never know.
Still available on our waiver wire.
Little hot take here, guys. Not to
All right.
shit on Margolis too much, but I really
Yes.
do gotta indulge myself.
All right, go ahead.
I have a little bit of a concern with the whole Odell Brandon Marshall thing because
Yeah.
I know that he's starting both players, but now look, everybody goes after me with my Seahawks in the locker room problems, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Odell hasn't been the most comfortable guy in the NFL. He hasn't had a great quarterback with a great offensive line, and Brandon Marshall is not someone who's very uncontroversial. So I could see something breaking out this season. I could see some skirmishes. I could see some distractions, and that's never good. You never want that.
Like
Prediction.
between
Especially-
the two, or just individually?
Maybe between
just
them and
locker
Eli.
room. Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
mean,
locker room
look,
problems.
if all of a sudden Brandon Marshall comes on a little strong, Odell's complaining about targets. He wants more targets. He's always complaining about targets, anyways. And
That's
this is only going to hurt that situation. Ingram, you mentioned. I don't know. I don't like banking on both of these players to do well at the same time. Like, no, just I would stay away from both of them.
Well, let me tell you where I see the risk in his team, and that's with Jordan Reed.
That's
Yes, that's
It's
a
like
very
he
excellent
just
point.
picked all the big question marks and threw them onto. Oof.
See, the worst thing is he has, I think, a good trade piece in Reed to balance out his team. Because right now, Reed, obviously, excellent performance when he's healthy. And personally, I think the dude is, one concussion away from drinking through a straw for the rest of his life. I hate to put it as bluntly, but I feel like it's the point across.
Yeah.
Should trade him now.
But he is
Right.
so high on Jordan Reed because, we've had some post-draft trades going on, and he will not give up Jordan Reed for anything but, to the craziest of trades. He really overvalues him.
Oh, he wants a running back or wide receiver one for Jordan
Exactly,
Reed.
and I
he
think
considered
that's
him a
just
tight
not
end
worth
one
it.
as equivalent.
Because
Yeah,
he could get some
fifth-round pick,
decent, I
Jordan
think,
Reed.
wide receiver twos,
No.
maybe even running back
Yeah,
too.
I don't like it.
Which
I
he
don't like it
needs.
either.
He desperately needs.
If I was him, I'd be definitely packaging either Lamar Miller or Bilal Powell with Jordan Reed
Exactly.
Yeah.
to try and swing a more consistent running back one.
And then that Willie Snead pick, too.
That did not work out well for him.
not,
Although I
no.
did like Willie Snead as a sleeper this year with an
did
increased
too.
target share. I think everybody did.
Yeah, I think that was a universal, but I mean,
Maybe it's time to,
suspension and
With the suspension, that hurts him for 3 games, but after he comes back,
Well,
I mean,
we'll
granted,
see.
this is not a team to endure, anything for a
Yeah.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
That's
No,
the
that's
problem.
true. Let's take a look at the depth pieces. As a matter of fact, yikes. Theo Riddick.
unnecessarily,
Okay.
he has 2 defenses, the Vikings and the
does.
Rams. Those, I don't know.
The Rams
why.
are a streamer. I think he's holding on to the Vikings for trying to play them most
Wow.
of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
I-
I think he's making
pot
a
calling
good
kind of
move
liar.
and not
I
playing
have.
them against New Orleans
Yeah.
week 1.
Yeah.
But
I do have 2 myself, but
Yeah.
I do
Yes,
too.
he does.
I do too.
I just
I don't know
Yeah.
about. I mean, let's see. I believe he drafted these guys early.
I think he picked Rams off of waivers. I
Oh,
can't
okay. He
remember.
did get Rams off waivers. Never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
Which is a good-
Oh,
good
yeah,
decision.
sounds
All right, at least he didn't draft too.
He's got Justin Tucker, so good kicker, but yeah,
Not as
Gio
good
Bernard.
as Gostkowski.
No, Gio Bernard is not even rosterable in my
No.
opinion.
No.
I wouldn't want him. Mike Wallace.
Matt Stafford. just
Sleeper
got-
bet. Matt Stafford is a
Stafford.
candidate
I
for
saw
fantasy
some-
regression.
Corey Davis
probably.
is an interesting roster pick, I think.
Yeah.
One of his
I
better.
see that.
In a very,
Close.
very crowded Tennessee passing offense with an
That's
emphasis
good.
on the run game, too.
So we've
I
already
don't know.
spent about
Talented
the
rookie.
first
though. I
third
think
of
is
this
that fair to
podcast
say?
shitting on Jacob's
Talented.
team. We should
Okay.
probably get on to someone else. So, Jacob, look, it's not great, but
All right,
it's
let's
not bad.
see some other candidates.
Yeah,
you
we
do
can
want to
go-
look at?
I think the takeaway from here is he has the potential to move to balance out his team and
Yeah.
strengthen it, but I feel like he won't. He
And-
overvalues his players too much,
and right.
which is understandable. Coming off the draft, everyone does that. I know
Yeah.
I've done that. I know you guys have done that.
And a 10 team
It's
as
easy to
well.
do.
He's not gonna have a team that's actually genuinely really bad because look, I mean,
There's enough waiver.
there's a lot
pieces.
of people
Yeah.
to pick up. Captain, who do you want to go to now?
All right, well, let's take a look at another newcomer to this league. Let's go to team better than Sherwood, and for the viewers at home, that is
yes.
Alexa Abiley's team, as I figured out her name was pronounced last night.
Is it Abilene?
I'm sticking with
It
Abil.
is not
I'm-
Abil,
I'm
but
sticking
it is
with the
Abiley.
Bell.
I'm
I like
sticking
the
with
Bell.
Abil.
So we have 3 different ways of saying it.
Hey,
This
man.
is quite.
Mine is her actual pronunciation, but
I just call her Lex and move on.
How much does she
Lex
really
first.
know about it? You know,
Well, apparently she was texting her brother during the draft the whole time, trying to
She
figure out who to
still
draft
has
next.
not started her defense.
that indeed. Well, it comes with time.
Ah,
she's got.
Oh, she
a
should
week.
figure that
Oh
out
my
by
goodness.
Thursday. Or,
Do you guys see the Chiefs' defense is projected for 3 points
Yeah.
against the Patriots?
yeah, so
Well,
this
that
is. I
makes
have a little
sense.
bit of inside.
She needs to stream.
I have
Wow.
some information on this actually because she
You know.
acquired the Chief defense.
And that was that was a trade from Conklin. for
Ooh.
a
to
3-point
give you guys
defense.
some context here. I actually offered her Steelers defense and the Chiefs defense. Steelers a great streaming option with the Browns, but she said that she didn't want to drop anyone on her bench. And if you look at her bench, I mean, Jeremy
pretty
Hill.
bad players on there. Would not be rostering Jeremy Hill. Would not be rostering Deontay Foreman.
It seems a little early for Foreman, yeah.
Would not be
Phillip
rostering
Rivers.
James White.
I don't know why she needs Phillip
Would not be
Rivers.
rostering Phillip Rivers.
So
Corey Coleman.
this idea that she's good taking the Chiefs defense week 1 against New England. I have some
That's
questions.
questionable.
Yeah.
Let's go look at the wire and see what her
I'm
options
pretty sure
are.
the
She's
Steelers
listening
are still
to it.
on the wire.
I think.
In fact, I believe
EJ
they
just
are.
picked them up. No, EJ did.
I see. Well, we still have the Colts.
Yeah, Falcons against Chicago is great.
Let's see what our best options are. The Chargers defense against Denver is always a good play. A really
I feel
up and
like
coming
that would be
unit,
good.
maybe with ball control offense, could keep the
yeah.
Broncos to a low point total. Or the Falcons defense against the Bears could exploit Mike Glennon's first game. Maybe force Mitchell Trubisky in. You just never know.
Wait a minute.
But other than that, that's kind of really all you got.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did the Bucks add T.J. Ward?
The Bucks did add T.J. Ward,
did,
and they
yes.
recently traded strong safety J.J. Wilcox to the Steelers.
I saw that
clear
move.
up a roster
Okay,
spot.
I saw that move.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so they've kind of, I would say, upgraded and downgraded. I know that maybe
Well,
It's definitely an upgrade over.
Definitely a net upgrade.
Definitely an
yeah.
upgrade.
Definitely a net upgrade.
But
Wilcox
it's
was
30-year-old
probably-
player
Exactly.
off a cliff.
Probably Wilcox was unnecessary. A little redundant at that after signing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's 1 year deal.
in terms of her actual team, Matt Ryan at quarterback, solid.
I mean, he won't be as
I
good as last
don't-
year.
yeah.
That's
Big
I think the
candidate for fantasy
consensus-
regression.
hard
actually.
regression.
I think
there.
that's
I don't know.
consensus.
Matt Ryan, he was amazing. His issues just magically
Yeah.
disappeared in his age, 31 season. I don't think that's sustainable. I think the Falcons take a big step back
seems
on
to me
offense.
like last year was an
Aberration.
especially,
as well.
aberration, especially given that they lost their offensive
It was a big
coordinator.
reach, yeah.
He was going, I believe, QB6 or 7, and she took
I
him
think
at like
even
QB4. I think after
Yeah,
I
wow.
took
round.
Breeze, she took him like one round later.
41st overall. David Johnson, obviously solid. I don't even know if we need to talk about him.
Nope.
Yep.
No controversy there.
I think we should mention though that she did not know she was picking David Johnson number 1 overall
That was-
until
yeah.
about 30 seconds before the draft.
Number 1 pick in the draft, and she had to make that decision at the last second. Disappointing.
It's okay.
Yes.
It's fine.
And then so we've got
Jonathan Stewart, who I hate this year.
yeah.
I think he'll be projected for 2 points a game by the end of the season. I think he will just get
Week 5.
unbelievably
McCaffrey is gonna
outgained by McCaffrey.
Box him out. When did she?
I'll offer a little bit of optimism. I'd say nothing amazing. I'd say 6 or 7 points a week. Like he'll be. I think him and McCaffrey will end up.
He might vulture some goal line touches,
Exactly.
but McCaffrey is the more
He'll
exciting
have a couple
player, more
breakout games where he
explosive.
hits 12.
And don't forget,
15.
Curtis Samuel is taking some RB touches too in that offense.
Yeah,
and Cam Newton is taking some rushing attempts, especially at the goal line.
I
Well,
think
Hassan
I'm the
Rivera
least-
said he wants to cut down on Newton's
That's true, but
rushing,
Newton is always a threat.
You can't control the Mavericks.
Come on.
Yeah, I think
Super
I'm the
Cam.
least optimistic on Jonathan Stewart. I mean, look, drafted in the 9th round. Aside from maybe McFadden, I could see starting McFadden, of course, for the 6 games,
Nice.
but I am not starting
Yeah.
it as my RB2, a 9th round running back.
No.
Who
Yeah.
is-
No
has
chance.
never been good.
Yeah, wasn't good last year.
He's never been like a good actual running back, and
Oh, well, he's been a good player, just but fantasy-wise.
fantasy wise,
Fantasy-wise.
yes, but not in terms of like in good situations, he has not exceeded the expectations of just.
And that's without a
doing
very
what you do.
talented up and coming rookie, I would
Yeah.
say. Also,
Mm-hmm.
So Doug Baldwin,
looking
Golden
to eat at his
Tate.
job.
Very consistent pass catchers.
Yeah.
I think I like Golden Tate a lot this year, actually.
I like Baldwin too. Yeah, Gronk.
Everybody
Of
likes
course you like
Gronk.
Baldwin.
You gotta worry about injury, but
Well,
yeah,
Gronk stays
I was about to
healthy,
say,
he
if Gronk
is-
plays more than 6 games, she'll.
fun little
do well.
thing here. I know, Caspin, you hate it when I point this one out, but I genuinely believe this is a problem. She's gonna have Gronkowski going against her defense, Kansas City, which I'm never a fan of that. I'm never.
No, that's never fun.
I know you seem to disagree with me on this, but
I just think you start the players that you think are going to do the best, regardless of whether
Well,
they're
you
playing
can't-
players on your team.
doesn't seem like you can think the Chiefs are going to do well on defense if Gronk.
Well, perhaps you think that
Well, you can't
Gronkowski
think
scores
they'll
2
do well on
touchdowns
defense
and
if
the
they're playing
Chiefs
the
still
Patriots.
come out with 7 points.
That's
Although,
just the end of the
obviously,
day.
the Chiefs against Patriots is a
Obviously,
terrible
That's
matchup.
think it's-
that is one you do not
yeah.
play your stud defense at.
No, you
Doesn't matter
definitely don't.
if it is a stud defense or not.
You actually don't play your stud
it.
running backs
No.
either,
No.
as
Nothing.
we will presumably be discussing when we go to
unless
my
you're
team.
playing me, then you play all your Patriots opponents. So
Exactly.
Stephon Diggs in the flex.
Yeah, I don't
Ugh.
like Diggs
Just
this much.
worrisome.
Horrific
Like,
passing offense.
I'd rather have Adam Thielen, to be honest. I know that's
yeah,
probably
but even
The
then,
other
I wouldn't
purple
even
team,
really
yeah,
want to
I
roster Adam
as they say.
Thielen.
It's got Sammy Watkins on the
I
bench.
love Sammy Watkins as a breakout candidate this year. If he stays healthy all 16 games, he will be a wide receiver 1 because he has that talent and he has the volume. All right.
I don't know. I always say a wide receiver is only as good as his QB. Obviously, Watkins.
do always
excellent.
say that. every time.
Every 2 times.
Yes.
No,
Cough, cough. Shout out to Drew.
yes. Well, Sammy, I think, is a good talent, and I think he has the potential.
A great talent.
Yes.
Yeah.
to put up good
Fourth
fantasy
overall.
numbers, but you have to be worried with Goff throwing the ball to him. You know,
Maybe, but I think this
throwing
is the year
is a
that
strong
Goff
term.
takes a little, not a huge step forward. Maybe he's not the number one overall quarterback. Maybe he doesn't prove that to be.
Maybe.
Maybe he doesn't prove worthwhile of that, but I gotta say, I think Goff takes a step forward, is a competent NFL quarterback, shows everybody why he was drafted in the first round at number one overall.
But,
maybe he's not that good.
So you don't think
forget,
he's Ryan Leaf 2.0?
I think he will be able to sustain at least one fantasy relevant wide receiver, and that wide receiver will no doubt be Sammy Watkins.
Don't forget Katzman. He's good. Whatever. And they did get Andrew Whitworth this offseason, but that line is still not pretty.
That's true.
So I feel for the guy because he isn't
Whitworth is
necessarily
35.
Yeah, Whitworth's old too. So this year he'll be great probably because he was very good in Cincinnati. But we'll see what happens. So moving on from Lex, I think. We're pretty good there, right?
The rest of the bench is just...
No, wait. I am curious.
Comments,
what are your guys' thoughts on Bennett? Because obviously I feel like that's a big
total
topic.
joke.
Martellus.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's just tight ends in Green Bay.
Green Bay's
He's on the
Never
wire for
good
me.
stuff.
No,
It's
the only
silly.
one who was a top 12 tight end in the last 10 years, or the entire Aaron Rodgers era, I think, was Jermichael Finley in 2012.
Which, congratulations if you can even remember that. Should we just... Is this a newcomers episode, maybe? We just go through all the... I like that.
Or do you want to discuss our own teams? We could do that.
Oh, well, we can...
I think Chan's team is the most interesting.
I think Chan's is a fascinating
I think we should
Yeah.
look at Chan.
Let's work
because
through
his
Chan,
isn't so we
work through
can't
Neil.
shit on it as easily.
No.
It's actually quite.
It's an intricate...
It's
an intricate bunch of guys.
What is it? Ambivalent, as they say.
Ooh, I like that. Big
Yes.
word choice.
Ooh, thank you.
So, Tom Brady, quarterback. No problems there.
See, I'm not big on Tom Brady this year.
Oh!
Madden curse.
I take it back.
It's
Wow.
Well, Shann, I will say,
Well,
Richard Sherman, Madden curse, I would not say.
well, obviously people have
I would
broken the
not
Madden
say that
curse.
way.
You look at like
Calvin Johnson.
OBJ, Megatron.
yeah, okay. There are some examples, but there are also
Honestly,
some
to our listeners,
So,
I say that more in jest. I like making that joke. Personally, I think at this point regression will hit him without warning. But will it be this year? I
think he
give him like an
takes a step back this
80%
year.
chance to still stay very top tier.
You
That
saw-
would be my true opinion.
You saw last year when he faced some of the elite defenses. I was starting him almost the entirety of last year, after his 4-game suspension. Especially, when he played the Seahawks, threw 2 interceptions,
10
I believe.
points. No, one interception.
One interception, but only 10 points.
316 yards, but no touchdowns, and just 10 points.
And
yeah.
you saw the arm strength was starting to diminish, especially when he was playing against a top-tier pass rush.
Yeah, the
great
pass
coverage.
rush really hurt him with Seattle because
Yeah.
as a game that I studied vigorously
Of
because
course.
there was one play, the interception play, where he was getting
Yeah.
pressure on both sides,
Yeah.
just lobbed it up to in a double coverage, and
But
Deshaun
you
Shed
have
had
to
no problem.
love Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver on
Oh,
the
of
team.
course. Brady
like
is
that
gonna
just,
be-
I think.
Yeah,
helps
anytime
them out.
Cooks gets open, I do commend Drew for picking him. I don't know
Would
that I
not have done it
want him.
myself
Yeah.
where he went in our
I
draft.
think he's
16.
overvalued.
It's a brave
at his
notion.
draft.
It's a brave thing to do.
Brave,
For
but
us.
I mean, if you want
I don't
him,
want that
he
risk.
has to take him there.
Yeah, I don't want
Yeah.
that risk, but
But back to Brady, I mean, the only problem I can find in this is that he was drafted 37th overall. I'm just not a big fan of quarterbacks that early, especially ones with as many questions as Tom Brady has.
Very true.
yeah, I think we all liked Terrell Pryor. Just hopping over the running
We
backs for
do,
a
but he
minute.
is not impressed in preseason.
That is interesting because I noticed that.
Rings some alarm bells.
I watched some Washington's preseason this year. Just whatever, and he didn't look very. Yeah, it was like maybe it was the Browns effect. You're lining up against some. You're lining up with some pretty bad receivers in the first place, and you make a few plays, and all of a sudden you're top tier talent.
As they say in the NBA, I mean, somebody has to get the points, the
Right.
numbers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Terrell Pryor was that guy last year in Cleveland. Somebody had to get some yards, and Terrell was really the only guy in town. Maybe in a diversified Washington pass attack, Kirk Cousins prefers Jameson Crowder and Jordan
Who is,
Reed if he stays healthy, or Fat
Jameson
Robbie,
Crowder,
maybe.
right over here, just for the record.
Well, I could have had him, but
You didn't though. Do you have him?
I don't.
You don't have him. Anyway, so.
All right, boys, shake your dicks. Pissing contest is over.
Yes.
On to his RB1, Todd Gurley.
I don't like Todd Gurley this year.
See, I like him this year. I think he's due for at least a bounce back. Will he put up top tier running back one numbers?
No.
I don't think so. But will he be a mid level to low level RB1? I think so.
To
I think he'll be better than last year and more consistent.
split the difference, I sit right in the middle of the road. I have no idea what Todd Gurley's going to do this year. The offensive line is bad, but he is a great talent, and the schedule is so-so. Catherine, what do you think about Amir Abdullah? Because I remember you were a little salty about this pick in the draft because you wanted Amir Abdullah for your fantasy team.
I was prepared to pick Amir Abdullah as high as 50th overall. However, when Joe Mixon fell to me at that pick, I had to take him. But Amir Abdullah, spectacular player, great talent coming out of college. If he curbs his fumbling issues, he has the chance to be a 1,000-yard 3 down back in the NFL. Now, I know Zach Zenner is going to be stealing some goal line carries, and Theo Riddick will obviously be handling a lot of third down work, but I think Amir Abdullah and everything else is just going to excel. Maybe he hits 4.5 yards per carry or something like that behind a revamped Detroit offensive line. Finds a lot of success this year. I really believe in Amir Abdullah, actually.
I can see it.
This is finally the year that he pulls it all together, because he was very effective in some limited touches for the last few years.
Shann, I like this notion Katzman has of the finally the year, and Josh Gordon, and this is finally the year. I think that this might be a theme.
That league poll was just for you, by the way, Katzman.
And I was the only guy who
voted yes.
Yep.
And Shann, I see the tight end has a personal significance to you.
Oh, yes, Greg Olsen, my man Greggy.
Third leg Greg.
G-Reg.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yes, excellent rap video to look up, y'all. Greg Olsen, I think, honestly, about as consistent as a tight end comes. Because you look at Gronk and Reed, and they're plagued by injuries.
We all know what we're getting from Greg Olsen. It's 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Exactly.
Yep.
So he won't put up as high numbers, I think, as Reed or Gronk, when they're healthy, but I think he has a very solid floor.
Funny you say that, Katzman. Last year, 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
So not necessarily.
Well, perhaps he's regressing to the mean this year.
Yeah,
I found there's a nice little stretch here, weeks 10 through, weeks 10 through 13, I believe, where he has 3, 3, 4, 3, then the next 2. Then to finish the season, he goes 8, 8, 5, and 2. Hasn't had double digits since week 9 of last year, and even then it was just 11 points. And the week before he had 1. I really don't like Greg Olsen this year. I'm sorry, Shanna. Close to your heart. But
I don't own him, so at
Greg
the end of the
Olsen,
day, if he's bringing down another person's team, I'm fine
getting
with
a little
that.
bit older. He's getting a little bit older.
That's true.
He's been a consistent great tight end, but if you look at his schedule, last year, something happened after that bye week, and it just... And I know the Panthers had a down year as a whole, so it's hard to attribute blame. But
I think that's an important part of it.
I don't know. I wouldn't be buying. It's up to Chan, though, and his team, Katzman.
I think at the end of the day, he's Cam Newton's favorite receiver.
Yeah.
So you just need to consider that, and just realize that, he's not the best passer, but if they want him to run less and pass more,
should be a bounce back season for the Panthers.
Exactly.
Maybe
biggest question mark in my opinion on his roster, a guy that I should be rooting for, but not really, Eddie Lacy in the flex.
Well, I think we all see as we go down his team, as soon as he, finished his wide receivers and RBs and tight end, he picked the Broncos defense, and then everything after that.
Yes, he took the Broncos defense extremely early.
Yeah,
what was it, 6th round?
And he took his quarterback early.
7th round.
Seventh round, he picks the Broncos defense.
So if you take your quarterback on the defense within the first 7 rounds, then you're going to have some serious problems at depth, and that's why we see him starting Eddie Lacy in the flex, and then his best bench player is C.J. Anderson, who I hate this year, followed by Dante Moncrief, who's Jason Witten, barely even rosterable.
He has a backup quarterback, tight end, and kicker.
I understand Shane Bream, but you're never going to start him. Yeah,
never.
So I think the narrative with Chan, which I think we all knew kind of immediately after the draft, was great starters for about 70% of the roster, 80% of the roster, and then the rest is just what the hell is going on? Was this guy even picking, or was this auto draft? Was this auto draft's stupid cousin here? Because I don't.
Well, to be
even
fair,
auto draft knows not to pick these guys.
He reminds me of me when I played last year, honestly, in terms of the way his team looks. Because I didn't do any research. I went into it fairly cold. I knew Peyton Manning, I think, was a player, and he had retired. So I went into it last year, and I had some similar. I had the Broncos defense. I had Greg Olsen. I didn't take a quarterback as high. I ended up... Well, actually, no, I did. I take that back. I took Cam Newton. And, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, we'll
but I think you're absolutely right. I think he has good starters at almost all the positions, but I think the problem is his depth is very lacking. And on bye weeks and injuries, will destroy his team.
All right, so moving on to the final newcomer of the league. Look, we try to keep it pretty PG on this podcast, but Neil, you're a son of a bitch! You changed your name to my team name again. I don't take... Okay.
We're going to have the commish step in on this one.
Yeah, so Neil thinks...
By the way, I am the commissioner.
Funny
the newcomer to the league.
Shann
is
the guy who's played fantasy football for 1 year is the commissioner.
Neil
thinks it's a fun move.
Neil thinks it's really funny to take team names of other people and use them for himself. I really don't agree with him. on that. Sorry, one second. It's a little technical issue. Okay. Yeah, he's got Greenville Gingers as his name. He's got red as the little tagline. He's basically copied my
Everything but team members and team photo.
This has been a tradition, Shann. This is, you guys, you gotta understand, this goes back. This is my roots, okay? First ever fantasy season. I was picking up some team that some guy forgot to play with, and I threw it together. I won like 6 games, almost made the playoffs. It was incredible. I was mostly playing teams that also didn't have any owners, so it was a lot of just 60 to 40 point wins.
That's the best kind.
Anyways, getting onto his actual team, Casman, I want to hear your thoughts on Dak Prescott.
All right, Dak Prescott regressing.
Yep, I
big
agree.
time. Now, Dak Prescott, I think, is a good NFL quarterback, good starter, but
fantasy
wise, no chance he replicates the rushing touchdowns, the rushing yards, in that really, really conservative Dallas offensive scheme that they, kind of kept
even with Zeke out
last year.
with suspension. At this point
Even
in
with Zeke
time,
out.
it's still very murky. But let's say he serves a 6-game suspension, either starting week 1 or
Cripples the
starting week
offense.
2. You think so? Just
I
overall?
see in my crystal ball, I see a couple back shoulder fades to Des Bryant in the end zone, and nothing more than that. Maybe he connects with, Ryan Switzer or Cole Beasley for a couple slot touchdowns, but beyond that, I don't see Dak Prescott throwing for more than 15 or 16
Switzer
touchdowns.
Go Tar Heels.
I don't see a whole lot of interceptions, but I just see not enough volume with the touchdowns or the rushing touchdowns or the yards, frankly, to sustain QB1 numbers.
Yes, I completely agree.
I think he has like a high-end QB too.
I completely agree.
Which, I mean, when was he drafted? This is
he took him fairly late, so it's not
9th
the
round.
worst.
Yeah, still.
Not a little earlier.
I think Kirk Cousins was still on the board. Marcus Mariota was still on the
obviously,
board.
you take-
Jameis Winston was still on the
You
board.
take any of those three
Better
back.
options.
I agree.
And could always trade me for Andrew Luck.
Oh.
Running backs, Melvin Gordon, Christian McCaffrey. I think people are universally good with McCaffrey, thinking he'll
course.
take the...
I think he's a little overvalued personally. I think
I get
that
that.
he
The
won't.
hype is-
He's projected, obviously ESPN projections, not the most accurate thing in the world, but he's projected for 9. I don't see him doing double digits on a
49ers,
consistent basis.
yeah.
I say
No.
maybe 7-8 points a week. Maybe
Yeah.
some 6s,
Like
maybe
40
some
receiving
12s.
yards, 30 rushing yards,
I
or
would
like
say-
inverse.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets a touchdown
Yes, exactly.
every 3 weeks, something like
Yeah,
that.
maybe he finished the season with
Yeah.
5 or 6 touchdowns.
It's a weird fantasy for basically a Danny Woodhead, in my opinion. I don't see him as much more than
Yeah. And Melvin Gordon, on his own, is a
that. Touchdown regression. Remember, we had a
Big
discussion
time
with
touchdown
EJ.
regression.
EJ put the line at 9.5, which I thought was...
wow.
I can't even believe that.
I'm taking the big time. If Jordan Howard has six touchdowns last year, no, I'm taking Melvin Gordon for 6 himself, 7 maybe.
EJ thought he would have more than 9.5 total touchdowns. I took the under on
Really?
that.
I haven't heard of this.
Surprise, surprise! I took the under.
That is a very hot take.
I
will
mean,
say.
I don't know. I don't know how you can even lie to yourself that bad, but
And let's move on to his wide receivers, I suppose. AJ Green and Demaryius Thomas. What do you guys think?
See, AJ Green for me is interesting because, as I mentioned earlier, I started last year. So basically, I saw AJ Green play, 2-4 games? How many did he play? I don't remember.
Not a lot.
And then get injured. So I really have no, fantasy frame
No,
of
AJ
reference.
Green went till week 10.
Oh, I
so
took
he
that back.
he had a
I saw him put up some big numbers.
Pretty good run of it, too.
yeah. I've never loved him as a player just because of that. You see, if you look at the line, and we're looking at 24, 3, 7, 23,
Oh,
5,
yeah, that's
8,
low.
22. And I remember, previous years, it's the same thing where it's just
Very
he has these
The
crazy
consistency is
weeks,
just not there.
blows up his PRK, and then falls back down to earth with 2 receptions for a 40-yard game.
Yeah.
And Demaryius Thomas, of course,
Crippled by Trevor Siemian. Oh.
yeah.
Hey, Brock Lobster. We'll,
Brock Lobster, yeah.
elevate them to wide receiver 1 numbers.
Back in the business.
I don't know. I don't want to own a single share of Denver's offense.
No.
And he owns
all.
2 wide receiver shares.
From the man who owns Jamal
Yeah,
Charles.
Denver's offense. It's like an oxymoron, I think, at this point.
Yeah. It's offensive to watch. That's what it is.
It sure
No, I think
is.
his tight end is interesting. Delaney Walker.
Delaney Walker.
What are you guys' opinions on
This
that?
old tight ends. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got a funny smile. That's what I'd say. I mean, what else? What do you want
All
to
right,
know?
then. Moving on.
That's our opinion.
That's all you need to know about Delaney Walker.
Let's take a look at his flex play. What do you guys say? Jarvis Landry?
Oh, problems.
well,
Domestic abuse allegations. Is
gosh.
that correct?
yeah.
Already
Devontae-
not taking that into account. You got to look at Cutler liking Devontae Parker, which
Cutler will be airing it
I
out.
know you will obviously talk about that all day.
Yes,
being
for
on
the
your team.
listeners at home, I do roster Devontae Parker.
Yeah, he didn't even have 20 points in a game last year.
No.
Against Cleveland, he got to 19, so that's great. But, you just look at his numbers, and it's just this guy who's consistently throwing out, somewhere between 5 to 7, and then he'll throw a 3 in as often as he will double digits. So,
And let's just say, we all love Jarvis Landry, the player. We just
not the human being.
Maybe not the human being.
Depends on how this.
Not the human being. The player, yes.
Painting
fantasy,
a very thin line here, where we're not for fantasy or for real life, but just as a
just within those lines.
Yeah, but no.
So as a mechanic of the game, you enjoy his contributions, would you say?
I like this new title, Mechanic of the Game.
Mechanic of the game?
Seems like a pick that he kind of had to make. I think same thing with
I just
Demaryius
don't know
Thomas.
about I do not ever consider Jarvis Landry.
No.
I don't ever really think there's a pick you have to make.
I just meant in terms of like Demaryius Thomas, for example. I don't think Neil was targeting him in his drafts.
Probably not.
But he dropped so far to...
Let's see where he got picked. 30th overall.
He did
for a guy
30th overall, I would rather be taking a player like Marshawn Lynch at 34. Or really just
I think
any of the 30 to 30. Golden Tate was still on the board.
I took Michael Crabtree the next
I like Crabtree. I like Golden Tate much more than I like Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, so...
Speaking of Crabtree, just real quick, do you guys think he will outscore, fantasy-wise, Amari Cooper this year?
No.
You don't think so?
He has in the last couple seasons, but Amari Cooper this is the year he takes a big step forward.
I'm not so sure
Ben,
about
this is
that,
the year Katzman.
This is a big disagreement between you and I. I think we'll see.
Well,
this
obviously
all through the
you
year.
have your own bias.
I have Michael Crabtree, but I have that bias partly because I thought Michael Crabtree would do better, and I did choose him in my draft. Of course, it seems more likely, probably, if you were to look at it, that Amari will be doing better, but I just am not seeing it. I mean, Michael Crabtree has been very consistent, very good, and Amari Cooper last year was not making good use of his targets. I don't expect much, and especially with that red zone work. I mean, he was.
Yeah, I think it honestly just comes
difficult
down
to start.
Then it just seems to always
be Crabtree.
Yeah,
but this year, Marshawn Lynch.
Lynch could mix things up.
If he makes an impact at all, which I know we disagree on.
Yes, we do.
I think Marshawn Lynch is a bit of a bust this year.
I think Marshawn Lynch is a huge boom. I think he comes close to LeGarrette Blount's 18 touchdowns.
All right, we don't need to get into
that's a whole other
We're on a time here, but so look at the rest of his team. He's got another Denver wide receiver on his bench, Emmanuel Sanders.
Yikes!
Good lord!
Don't know what the hell he thinks he's doing. Little personal vendetta here.
Oh, and he has Danny Woodhead. He has both white.
Any interesting players you guys see down there? I mean, Mike Gillislee maybe, but even then,
silly.
One of 4 running backs in New England. I don't like that.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, Darren
you don't
Sproles.
like one of one running
Darren
backs.
Sproles, I see as a sneaky one, but yeah,
Jordan Matthews maybe. Only guy in town.
So I think that does it.
Rashard Matthews
I don't like
last year. I don't like him
Matthews
this
at
year.
all.
There's too many wide receivers.
Chris Thompson, I would be having I would be dropping to the wire.
Yeah, no,
I would
he
not
should
touch
not be on
a
our roster.
share of Chris Thompson.
I think that does it for the new teams in our league. We can next episode get into all the others.
We
don't need
the returning
on each, but yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a good year. 10 teams changes the pace of play. All of a sudden, players aren't as quite as valuable as they might have been in the past. I remember last year, like running back became super thin because we've got 12 guys starting 2 running backs, and some people throwing them in a flex, and then there's one starting running back per team, so it gets difficult.
But this year it's going to be much more high scoring, I'd say.
Yeah, higher scores, of course,
Oh, yeah.
as you should see, going from 10 to 12 to 10. But
It should make for some pretty excellent matchups. Like
for
week
reference,
1.
I started both Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington.
And how'd that do for you?
I mean, I think I won that matchup that
remember
week, but not because of them.
no.
For reference, they were both running back, second string to Latavius Murray.
Yeah.
On the Raiders.
Who I believe you also rostered.
I also own Murray, but I dropped Richard and Washington shortly thereafter.
All right.
I believe Murray was out with turf toe, something along those lines.
And so for the spirit of the fact that this is an NFL podcast, not a fantasy podcast, we're going to really quickly run through each of the games this week. No big, long opinions, just a concise,
pick our
short... I'll throw out a name. Okay, Kansas City, New England. I got New England.
New England.
Easy. New York, Buffalo. I got Buffalo.
Which New York?
Jets.
Oh.
Buffalo.
Yeah. Another easy one. Atlanta, Chicago,
Atlanta.
Easy. Baltimore, Cincinnati. I got Cincinnati.
Baltimore.
Taking the first one. Oh, okay.
If Joe Flacco plays.
I don't think.
I think it was a bounce back year for the Bengals, though.
I would have to say Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Pittsburgh. No, nothing there.
It will be closer than we think.
I would love for the
We would
Browns
all love
to just do well this year.
Will not happen.
I would not like
Pittsburgh.
that.
I know you
Detroit. I think I'm taking Detroit in this one.
I'm taking Arizona.
Michigan.
Bounce back year for Carson Palmer.
In Michigan.
I would have to say Arizona probably.
Yeah,
Matthew Stafford takes a step back too.
Jacksonville at Houston. Definitely Houston, in my opinion.
Yep.
At Houston. First game of the year.
I'll go with Houston,
They
but
need
it's
time.
very
I
close
think
in
Leonard
my
Fournette
eyes.
does amazing, but I think
Leonard Fournette has 20 yards max.
All right, keep it concise here, Cats. Come on, we're going to roll into semantics of the Jaguars-Houston first game of the season. It's not even going to matter. Tampa Bay, Miami, a little Florida matchup. I'm going with Miami.
I like Tampa Bay.
I like the Bucks there.
Jameis Winston, sneaky
home
MVP
team.
candidate.
Oakland at Tennessee. I'm taking Tennessee in that.
Tennessee.
Titans all the
Yeah.
way.
Washington, Philadelphia. I'm going to go with the Eagles.
I'm going with the Redskins.
Yeah, I'd have to go to the
Interesting.
Redskins on
Okay.
that one.
Indianapolis, Los Angeles. I would go LA.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go LA.
Yeah, which I
Yeah,
can't
with luck gone. LA.
Seattle, Green Bay. I'm going Seattle.
I'm going Packers.
I'm not saying that they're gonna win. I'm just saying I really think they should.
Well, I wonder why that
Carolina
is.
at San Francisco, of course.
Well,
Carolina.
And New York at Dallas. I think Dallas wins
Dallas.
this one.
I think Giants.
Oh, okay. And then, of course, Monday Night Football. We've got New Orleans at Minnesota.
New
I will
Orleans.
take New Orleans as well. And then LA at Denver. Chargers versus the Broncos. I think that the Chargers start off the season strong.
I think the Chargers have
Yeah.
a great season, actually, and win this game.
All
Yep.
right.
I would
So
agree.
that about does it for us here on Ben Squared.
We'll skip the whip around for today.
We
Yeah.
don't need the whip around. We'll get back to that later. This is the whip around kind of fantasy. You know, we're changing it up. We'll experiment with some new topics and new discussion with.
Play it by ear, as the musicians say.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, Shann.
Oh, well,
First
thank
guest
you-
on
thank
the
you for
podcast.
Yeah, our
having me.
league commissioner. What an
League
esteemed
commissioner. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why we didn't even start with that. But,
No, we should have. But
Yeah.
for those of you who stuck around, now you know.
Yeah.
League commissioner, newcomer to fantasy last year. All I'd watched before that was college basketball, go Tar Heels, national championship. But
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. But then I rose to second place, overall runner-up in the league, through a mixture of luck and interesting picks.
Yes.
But
Anomalies in yours truly.
I'm curious to see how this fantasy season goes.
Yes.
I'm quite excited.
Yeah, very well read on fantasy. Shann did a lot of research in the offseason. Great to have him with the team. Great to have him in the podcast, in studio today. All right, that was Ben Squared. Thank you all for listening. Tune in next week.
Take care, y'all.